Motor, J Motor, J Motor, J Motor, recognize Heckler House, Heckler House. Oh, 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 oh.
What's up, YouTube? This is your boy Thomas back again with another rendition of Truth Be Told. Now, again, there wasn't a whole lot going on in the news. Nothing really major anyways. They're still going on about the terrorist attack in Wisconsin or whatever by the rapper or whatever. How they're going really lenient on him when he should be getting prosecuted to the full extent of the law. He killed a bunch of people. I did see something about there was an article that stated that how the majority of the vast population of Africa has not been vaccinated, and there hasn't been hardly any cases of the China virus over there. And then as soon as that it was published and put out in the public, media and Fosse and them dropped the bomb that there was an African variant now, and that they're going to have to get everyone in Africa vaccinated and blah blah blah, which seems kind of strange after they literally reported there was like no real cases of it. Now all of a sudden we have an African strain variant, and it's largely in New York, and they're going to try to do a whole lockdown on New York again, which that's not, I guarantee you it's not going to fly. They're just, people are tired of this bullshit. It's all a bunch of bullshit, and it needs to stop. The whole China virus crap needs to stop. It needs to end, and we need to move on as human beings in a population. It's time to move on. It's less harmful than the damn flu. So more people die of the flu than they have ever died of this China virus. So our government needs to fuck off, and the far leftists need to quit their bullshit, and we need to move on. Anyways, let's move on. Now, the first thing I want to talk to you about is I just got done watching a television show not too long ago called White Collar. It started in 2009 and went on to like 2014, so it was on for a few years. Not quite what I most generally watch. This happened to do more, or more had to do with like stolen burglary, art theft, and all that kind of crap than it did murder mystery, which I'm more into, is the murder mystery type shows. But with my murder mysteries, if you've watched earlier videos, you know I'm more into, it has to have some comedy in there, or I don't care for the show. Someone suggested this show to me and check it out, and I decided to check it out. Now this show starred Matt Bomer, Tim DeKay, Willie Garrison, and Tiffany Thiessen. They were the main stars of the show. It only lasted 6 seasons, and the very last season, they cut it off real short. Like they hurried up and ended the show pretty quickly. The first season basically dealt with the main character, which was Neil, and Agent Peter of the FBI. Peter was a art theft, burglar type of, he dealt with, stealing crimes of art theft for the most part. He caught Neil twice. Now, Neil basically let him catch him. He just kind of gave up. And that's the reason why Peter, so much caught him. Now, throughout the series, Peter brags about how he caught him twice, blah, blah, blah. And Neil just blows it off because, whatever. He knows he let him catch him. Anyways, Peter makes a deal with Neil to become a consultant for the FBI to help catch art thieves or high-end thieves, and Neil agrees. It kind of reduces his sentence. He's got 4 years to serve, and he wears like an ankle bracelet, Now, right off the bat, it's just kind of convenient. He meets an old lady who used to be married to a con artist. And she has this house that has all these nicks and crannies of hiding shit and escape route because she was married to a con artist. Just super convenient. He just runs into her and finds a place to stay. She gives him like the upper floor or whatever apartment to her building. Whatever. Now, along the way, you do have a few regular bad guys. You have this guy called Keller. He's like an art thief too, but he tends to kill people. So, and he always seems to get away with it, and they stop him, and then he ends up finding another way to get out and find something else to steal, and then they have to stop him again, blah blah blah. It's a reoccurring theme with this killer guy. Neil supposedly is in love with this Kate girl at the beginning, and then she gets killed, and they gotta try to find out who killed her and who's screwing with Neil and blah blah blah. They also meet another woman. He goes through several women. There's another one named Alex that you see off and on, who is also an art thief. You have his best friend named Mossy. Now, Mossy is the super conspiracy theorist. Like he's really, really paranoid. At first, Peter don't know who he is. He's Neil's friend. And then he ends up like constantly helping him out to where he eventually, as the series goes along, he kind of becomes family, even to Peter and his wife. Uh, you you eventually run across another woman who kind of used to be like some CIA agent or some shit, and she turned on him. Uh, she eventually falls in love with Neil, and then she ends up getting killed. Blah blah blah. It's a crazy mess. They end up finding out what was going on with her. Uh, he does have another girlfriend, a redhead, for a while, but then she moves and leaves him too. He seems to go through women like crazy. It's just ridiculous. Now, the last season, they deal with a group called the Pink Panthers. Whatever. They call themselves the Pink Panthers. They're one of the greatest art theft groups of all time, supposedly. But they eventually figure out a way to take them down too. But there's only 6 episodes for the last season, season 6. Like I said, they cut it off really short. I don't know why. Usually it's like 20-some episodes, but they only did 6 episodes, and then they ended the show, which was kind of irritating, but whatever. I didn't like the ending. Basically, Neil goes off on his own, disappears, fakes his death so he can get away from the FBI. I don't know. Which, in a sense, I don't blame him, because Peter's supposed to be his, like, best friend, but he never trusts him, never. I mean, half-ass does, but most of the time he just doesn't ever trust him. Never has throughout the entire series. I thought that was kind of bullshit, that he just never ever trusted him. So the FBI was constantly throughout the series figuring a way to reel Neil back in to the FBI, to keep him on a leash, basically, to work for them. He eventually just had enough of it. He was fed up by the last season. Anyways, that's pretty much the entire show. It was a decent show. The guy who played Peter, Tim DeKay, he was actually pretty funny. At first, I liked the first few seasons. He was funny. And then after that, it just, I don't know, it kind of got bland a little bit. It was alright, but the last couple seasons or so, it just didn't feel right. It wasn't the same. The show was decent. It was alright. Again, not really my cup of tea, but it wasn't a bad show. If you're looking for a series to watch that has a little comedy, a little bit of action and mystery kind of shit to it, even though it's not murder, it's art theft, I recommend this show. I give it 2 thumbs up. Check it out. You probably won't be disappointed. It's worth the go. It's worth at least a one-time see anyway. Alright, let's move on to your B-movie reviews. Alright, movie holics. This week is Sci-Fi Week. And I got a couple of older movies that I know they're getting ready to reboot this, try to reboot the franchise. I don't think it's probably going to work. I think it's Disney who's going to try to do it. And we know how it goes when Disney gets a hold of something. It just turns to shit. I went ahead and I haven't seen these movies since they first came out. The first one was in 1986. It's called Short Circuit. Now, this deals with robotics. You know, it made about 40 million at the box office, which wasn't too bad for back then. It did fairly well. It was a sci-fi comedy, family type movie. It stars Steve Guttenberg and Ali Sheedy. Now, basically, the story is you have a robotics company who are trying to build like robotic war machines, basically. They're robots, but they're going to be used for war. This is not a new story. It's been done before, but most of these didn't start coming out until after this movie. This particular type of story, you know, where they're building some type of, you know, robotic soldier or whatever to go do war instead of actual humans. This is also around the time where robotic movies and cartoons like the Transformers were actually getting popular. Robots were kind of a popular thing, especially cyborgs. There were so many cyborg movies during the 80s and 90s. It's not even funny. But yeah, robotics was kind of a new concept and pretty popular. Now in the movies, they would actually build a whole entire robot. Yeah, it was all out of remote control or whatever, kind of like a puppet or something. But they actually physically built one. Nowadays, after the year 2000 and CGI became a thing, now they just CGI everything. It's just not the same. But anyways, the story of this movie is you have a, you know, weapons company who deals with robotics, who decide to build robotic warriors or whatever for the military. One of them gets fried. There's only 5 of them. One of them gets fried. It just happens to be number 5. Number 5, he gets hit by lightning or whatever. It does something to him where he becomes AI. You know, he becomes artificial intelligence. He starts learning stuff and becoming more self-aware. Of course, the military's or the company's owner and the military, they're all wanting to stop this from happening. Once they find out he has escaped the facility where they make him, which is called Nova. He escapes the Nova facility, and he ends up with Ali Sheedy on her little, it's not really a farm, it's kind of like a little, almost like a little tiny farm thing. You know, she got a bunch of animals. She's a klepto when it comes to animals. There's just tons of them all over her property. Somehow he ends up with her, and she starts teaching him stuff because it keeps asking for input, so she keeps giving it to him. Now Steve Guttenberg and Fisher Stevens, they're trying to figure out, their characters are trying to figure out how to find him because he's lost. They can't figure out what happened to him. They know he's out there and he's somewhere nearby. Their tracker's not working or functioning properly because number 5 got struck by lightning, so it's scrambled his circuits a little bit. But they eventually figure out where he's at. The military gets him back, and they're ran by this guy. He's kind of a dick, but they get him back. They're going to try to erase him, destroy his memory. Number 5 figures out this means to be dead, so he stages a scene where they blow him up, and it was a fake. The military thinks Nova thinks that it was him, but it wasn't. He built a replica of himself, and they blew it up. So he ends up getting away at the end. He goes to stay with Steve and Allie, their characters. And that's the end of the movie. I didn't find it really all that funny, to be honest. I remember bits and pieces from before when I was a kid and I watched it when I was younger. This time around, I really didn't find it all that funny. I don't think I really found it that much funny before either when I was younger. I mean, it was a good family movie. It was alright. It's a decent flick. It's really neat how they were able to make this puppet or robotic puppet or whatever come alive. It was pretty neat. It wasn't CGI, so it made it more realistic. I'm surprised it didn't go even further than this. But moving on to the sequel, Short Circuit 2, you don't have Steve Guttenberg and Ali Sheedy in this one. Instead, you have Fisher Stevens from the first film, and Cynthia Gibb is the leading lady in this one. Now, this was done in 1988, and it made about 24 million, so it did about half of what it did the first one did, which is still okay, not as great. This time he's brought into the city, so things were changed a little bit. Fisher Stevens is trying to make a go out of making little toy robotics like that look very similar to Johnny Five. Cynthia Gibb works for a toy company who wants some type of robotic toys. She runs across one of Fisher's toys and then tells him that she'll, if he can mass produce a bunch of them by a certain date, they'll pay him a bunch of money for them. At first, he's not real. It's just him. But there's this other guy who he meets on the street who's kind of a con man. He tells him and her that they'll have it done for and at the appropriate time. He kind of cons Fisher into becoming his partner. And, he hires a bunch of homeless people to help him build it. That doesn't work. There's a couple of guys that are trying to rob the bank next door of the building that they get for their little factory. Johnny Five shows up because Fisher asked Steve Guttenberg and Allie for some help. Instead, Johnny Five shows up and he decides to help him out. So he builds all the little toys for him and they make it on time. However, the two guys that are trying to rob the bank next door, there's another guy, he's an inside guy, he works for the bank. They're trying to steal these jewels, high-end jewels. He cons Johnny Five into getting into the bank for him underground and steals the jewels. Then they go to destroy Johnny Five. They nearly do it But they capture all the bad guys. They stop them. And Johnny Five saves the day. All ends well. You know, Fisher and Cynthia, they get together, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the movie, you know, Johnny Five becomes a citizen of the United States, the first robotic, self-aware AI citizen. And he's plated gold for some reason. They put him all in gold. I don't know. Anyways, that's the end of the movie. Again, it was another family type sci-fi robotic movie. It was good. It was a good family, clean, fun movie. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't like the greatest either. I actually thought this one was a little bit more funny than the first one, to be honest. I would definitely recommend both these movies, especially if you want to sit down and watch something with your, you know, younger kids or whatever. They'll probably really enjoy both of these movies. I give it 2 thumbs up. And this is a time, again, before all the CGI shit. So the robot, actually, Johnny Five, he looks really more realistic than the CGI shit. So definitely check them out. They're definitely worth a one-time watch. You'll like them. Like I said, I know they're supposed to do a reboot or remake of these, but if it's Disney, I know it's going to turn to trash. So watch these while you can. If you have anything you would like to leave your thoughts on from earlier in the video that I talked about, please leave your thoughts down in the comment section down below. I'd like to hear from you. Also, if you can think of any underrated movies that you think I may never have heard of or never seen, it could be like even further back, like in the 60s or something, you know, that you think I might actually enjoy watching. Please leave your suggestions down in the comment section down below. I'll get to reviewing them as soon as I can. So until next time, I told you you'd be told the truth, and you've just been told.